Welcome to the Midnight Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, alongside my fellow co-host, Tyler Sinden. We are both entrepreneurs who are learning, growing, and building our own businesses, and our goal is to share our experiences and knowledge to help you grow and become a successful entrepreneur. Strap in. Wow, third time's the charm on that intro, Tyler.
Yes, sir. You finally got it. We nailed it. I was taking a picture anyways, so I don't know if you saw it.
I did not. I was staring at the screen, and I don't know if the letters were somehow smaller, but we got through it, and that's all that matters.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. And same here. We got through a catastrophe right before filming, but we're here.
Yep. Spilled water all over your desk, which was lovely.
Very lovely.
And then I
always love it.
That you're a slow water cleaner upper.
Man, I don't want my keyboard to be broken or my mouse or my new mat that I just bought.
Don't spill on it.
This is genius advice. I'll take it into consideration. I'll never do it again.
Problem solved, problem evaded. That's what I like to say.
There we go. Never again.
Tyler, what's new with you? Last week we started with my things that were new. Let's start with you this week.
Yeah. So like I said, I think we had a really good meeting last week with Riley. And what happened, I think last week is we told each other, let's do too much stuff. And then we had so much stuff on for us to do. And like, especially we created deadlines for everything. And we were saying like, let's get 5 things done this week and then like 10 things done this week. So I think we had a lot of stuff to do. So basically what we did on the last call was, okay, let's just pick one thing and make sure we get that one thing done. And then after that one thing's done, we'll move on to the next thing. So we had another good call and we chose highest priority tasks that we wanted to do. Still somewhat in the background doing all the other stuff. And we did come up with another idea of what we wanted to implement in the future here. And we just basically said, let's just get this one task done. And we kind of pushed it a little bit faster than what we wanted to, or not really what we wanted to, but we elevated the timeline because now we're just focusing on this one instead of 10 things at once. Now it's just this one thing. So we can do it a little bit faster than doing 10 things at once. So the timeline's a little bit faster for the goal to get that done. Yeah, I feel like that's about it. I've been signing up for a lot of classes or master classes and other workshops. So it's been fun doing that. And I got another one after this. So busy days.
Yeah, I think it's beneficial when you focus on one task. It makes you get it done so much quicker when you don't have a shit ton of things falling onto your plate where it's like, oh crap, now I have to do this thing. I have to answer this email, or now I have to create this piece of content. If you really set a time and you're like, hey, this is the task I'm getting done, nothing's stopping me from doing it. Usually that goes a lot more smooth.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about this before where it's like getting rid of those small tasks, but this is a little bit different because all the tasks that we have aren't really small. But when you are able to get rid of those small tasks and then you look at your task list, say in a day or at the end of the day, you don't have 30 things there and you're like too overwhelmed on what you want to do. So now that we just have one thing, we aren't overwhelmed. Let's just get this one thing done and we can move on to the next most important thing. Yeah,
I really like that. I mean, you've obviously implemented it on your end. I'm trying to implement it on my end too. We had the first mastermind last week, which was good. Friday mornings. I thought that was pretty productive. That's something new we can add on to the beginning part of the show. But yeah, kind of went over some things that I'm working on, and then this coming Friday will be more on your end. But I think that was pretty beneficial.
Yeah, I did really like the mastermind, and I honestly think it went a little bit better than what we expected, especially that being our first time. Never been in a mastermind before, either of us. And I think this is good progress. And I think we're going to grow it into something that's going to be pretty impactful, especially for us too. And then maybe the few other people that we want to. And I know I had a big vision of creating like a big mastermind of maybe once or twice a year. We invite other business professionals out and we can help other people scale and build their business or do whatever they want. But that's big vision, maybe a few years out.
Yeah, and I think that moving forward, we'll have a lot more updates on how those masterminds are going and how we're changing things to make them better, and adding people into the mastermind. So that's something to look for you people listening moving forward. I assume we will be giving a few more updates on those masterminds as we go through them.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if it'll impact our updates a little bit here, because now we're speaking to each other twice a week and once right in the middle of the week with that mastermind. So it'll be interesting. Maybe we'll just withhold the information before the podcast and then before the mastermind. So we'll see how that goes. What's going on your end though?
Nothing crazy. I just wanted to touch on last week. I talked about the new meeting strategy with these clients, the 3-call close, I called it, which is meeting for a discovery call, meeting for a pitch meeting, going over the 3 different proposals, and then the agreement call where they're signing their name on the contract. So had a few of those since last week, actually pitching these services, and then 1 tomorrow and 1 next Monday. So those have went well. The first one went really well. They went for the middle package, which is really the goal of these packages, is to make them choose the middle one. If they do choose the top end one, which I call the Hollywood package, then that's, fine and dandy. But usually that package is pretty spendy and you really bump that one up. So it's more difficult for them to choose. But the first client I met with, they went with the middle package. They said at a minimum, they're going with the middle package, and then they were going to see what room they had in their budget to see if they could go with the Hollywood package. So that's a good sign. The second meeting I had was not as awesome as far as the pitch goes. I didn't get as much feedback from the client as I would have liked. I don't know if it was on my end. The pitching wasn't as good, but I think I want to rework the pitch a little bit after going through that one. I didn't get it confirmed like, hey, we really like this one, we're going to go with this one. That one I got more of a, okay, I have a lot to think about sort of vibe. So that's what I'm looking at there. But the meetings went well, and overall, and I just have to learn through the experience on really perfecting this proposal and this new strategy that I'm implementing. That's a lot of words. Tyler, you can talk now.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big thing for you especially during this phase, because you're just starting something new, and what your main priority should be doing is learning as much as possible, picking up on cues, seeing where people maybe have objections, and then you're coming prepared for those objections, because I'm assuming a lot of these people are going to have the same objections. I'm curious obviously they weren't too shocked at the price with your Hollywood package if they're thinking about it. So I was going to ask what their facial expressions were or how they acted when they saw your Hollywood package. So I don't know if there's anything to touch on there.
Yeah, I mean, the first meeting I went into, the packages were, I'll lay them out there. The packages were $9,500, $15,000, and $27,000. So, I mean, that gives you a good look at what they looked like. I don't know if that's because I didn't really have a budget in mind for them. I kind of just put stuff together, and maybe I just happened to be lucky and hit close to their budget. The other determining factor on the first meeting is they have 2 stores, one in a different city and one here. And the Hollywood package did cover content for both stores. So that might play a factor into their decision-making on if they can go with the Hollywood package. But that went well. The facial reactions are good. A lot of feedback. I don't know if this matters, but one was a female, one was a male, the 2 different meetings. So I don't know if that plays into things. The second meeting was less friendly banter and back and forth discussing how the packages would work, and more internal thinking from the client of, is this going to work on my end? So I don't know if the pitching was wrong, whatever it might be, like I mentioned before, but the one thing I did notice in that second meeting was I think I want to move the price of it to a sheet after the actual pitch. I just don't like the price being at the bottom. I like going through the deliverables, painting a picture in the mind of what that looks like to the client, and then again giving them a sheet and say, hey, here's a breakdown of what it costs. We're looking at X amount of dollars. So that's one change I wanted to make. And I also want to practice my strategy on a little bit more explaining what the package looks like, because after doing 2 of them, I realized you get to that last package and you're not talking very much. You're pretty much just like, hey, here's the deliverables, here's how much it costs. So those are the things I want to work on. I don't even know if I answered your question at this point, but maybe that gives you a little bit more information.
I feel like it would be interesting, because if you're separating the investment price and you're not having it on the page where you're showing these are the deliverables, I'm not sure how it would affect them, because obviously you're showing them the deliverables, and then they're going to be like, oh, I really like this package. And then you get to the next page, and then it's like, there's the investment. It's like, oh, I really don't like this package anymore. You know what I mean? So
and that's where
I think that would be interesting.
I really want to look at it as, and I've seen things, I've been presenting from the cheapest one to the most expensive one, where in the book, Never Split the Difference, they talk about price anchoring. Is that something where maybe I should start presenting the Hollywood package first and going down from there? I don't know. These are things that I'm going to have to test out and see what works best, but a few more coming up. I'll have to implement a few changes for those ones, but so far I think it's been off to a good start.
Yeah, that's really good to hear, because this is something new that you're implementing, and it's supposedly going to help your business increase your revenue. So, and hopefully that increases your cash flow as well. So hopefully it turns out well, and you're able to present these, and you're able to land more clients at a higher price, or maybe it's less clients at a higher price, but maybe both at higher would be ideal.
More clients, more money. Pretty much, if that could happen, that'd be awesome. And that kind of transitioned to the second part that I wanted to add. Yeah, exactly. Is $500,000 we decided was, well, I decided, you helped me decide, was the revenue goal for the year. I'm working on reverse engineering that. That's $41,333 a month. How do you get there? So that's really base level thinking. I haven't put a ton of thought into it, but I've got a drive ahead of me tonight that I'll do some brainstorming. But that's just one thing that I've been thinking about, is how do we reverse engineer that to get to that number?
I'm curious because you originally said 250,000, and when you said that, I was like, that's too low. And then you jumped up to 500,000. I'm curious if that changed your mindset or game plan at all on how you were going to get to 500,000 as opposed to 250.
It got my mind thinking that, I might have been able to get to 250,000 just working with retainer clients and clients specifically. But I think moving it to the 500,000 is going to force me to be a little bit more creative in the ways that the revenue is coming in. So I think it's a good thing, but implementing those services, that's really, trying to figure that out. I think I have a general idea. I want to just in turn up the price of the video services, but that takes a process that I have to implement first, which is I want to build out more of these case studies and actual funnels to put people through, rather than just relying on people that I've talked to. So there are a couple ideas I have, but I still think there's going to be more brainstorming I need to do.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Tyler, anything else you want to add before we get into this week's topic?
I think we're all set and ready to jump right in.
Perfect. So this week's topic is honing in your target audience. This is something people talk a lot about, is that what is your target audience? Who are you trying to reach? Who are you trying to target? And we thought it would be a good topic to touch on this week. So really what we're talking about, a target audience, whether it's a service-based business or a retail business, really any business that you're in, everybody has a target audience. And the one thing I hate, Tyler, is when people are like, oh, we're for everybody. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, obviously you can look at a company and say, sure, you can serve everybody, but in your marketing, you want to make sure that you're targeting someone specific, because that's going to weed out all these other people and you're going to be able to speak directly to them. So sure, you can serve everyone, but you want to target a specific group.
And the perfect example for that would be Nike sells shoes to everybody. But when you look at Nike's brand, you know what they stand for. It's athletic people. It's people that are out there. They're moving their body. Those are things that they're targeting in their marketing. You don't see many commercials on a 3-year-old girl wearing Nike shoes, right? You just don't see that very often. So that's a good example I would use for making sure you have a specific target audience for your marketing.
Yeah. I didn't really know where you were going with it, because I don't know. When I see Nike, it's like, sure, everyone, honestly, they're at the point, especially like with Walmart. Walmart's something that I think of too, where it's like, do they really have that target audience? And it's like, I feel like they're at the point where their target audience is literally everyone, except for maybe the high-end luxury shoppers, actually, now that I think about it. So maybe they just their target audience is so much wider than what yours should be just starting out. I think that's what it should be. So when you're starting out, you want to make it as niche as possible.
Yeah, if you keep it niche, then you're allowed to expand as you grow the business, but make sure in the beginning, you have a defined target audience. The definition of target audience we're going to roll with for this episode is the group of people that are most likely to be interested in your product, offer, or service. So that's a pretty easy way to define it. It's really, who is going to be most likely to be buying what you're offering.
Mm-hmm. We should have an episode on, is it niche or niche?
I don't know what it's pronounced. I always say niche. But then people say the riches are in the niches.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like maybe if just because it rhymes. Niche, it's like if something is niche, if it's like an adjective, but if it's a niche, that's like a noun.
Shit, I don't know.
Is that kind of making sense?
Yeah, it does. Right. We'll move on.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show. The meat and potatoes. So how do you figure out your target demo, your demographics, your psychographics? Tyler, how do you figure out your target demo?
Yeah, this is tough. You want to basically just figure out what your product or service is or offer, and then who's most likely to buy that and where are they hanging out. Maybe it's like mountain climbing gear. It was kind of an example that I thought of before. Is what are they doing? Who typically is that? And then it's basically just trying to narrow it down as much as possible. Their age, their income levels, their education, their interests. And you just want to figure out as much demographics and psychographics as possible. So you're able to speak to them as easily as possible and connect with them.
So if you had to dumb down for the people that don't know, demographics, psychographics, what is the difference?
Yeah, demographics. Tough question, my man. Demographics is like their age, their income levels, their education. Am I wrong or am I right? I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure demographics would be like physical things about them, where I feel like psychographics is more things they like, enjoy, their interests.
Yeah, it's like hobbies.
Yeah.
Yep. So
that's the difference for the people wondering out there. I know we use those two words, but at least we can kind of give you an explanation.
Yeah, I don't know the definition exactly, but I know like where they stack up in. So yeah, so you want to basically just narrow it down as much as possible with their age, income levels, education, demographics, and psychographics.
Yeah. And that's one thing we talked about too, is at the beginning when you're starting your company, you might not know all of these answers. You have to put something on paper that looks like, hey, here's my target audience. I know who they are. But as you work through your business and as you learn more about the customers that are buying more from you, the customers that aren't really buying from you, the people that really love your service, the people that just don't really care for it, your target audience might shift from what you originally started it as. So, Tyler, do you think there's an issue with the target audience shifting as you move through your business?
Absolutely not. I think that's part of the process. When you're first starting out, there's a chance that you're not going to nail your exact target demographic. You're not going to say, this is exactly who I think is going to buy my product. At the end of the day, your target audience is going to determine themselves. It's going to be the market and who decides they want this product. You might think it's group X, but it ends up being group Z. So
yeah. And that's one thing that
completely find a pivot.
One thing a lot of people say is that let the market decide. Let the market tell you what they want. So don't try to overcomplicate that. If I'm really advocating for, I want to sell people that love soccer. Well, if people that love soccer don't care about your service, adapt. Maybe people that love basketball love your service. So you have to pivot a little bit. Don't be so stuck in your ways on, I want to sell to this specific audience. Otherwise, your business might fail.
Yeah. And one thing that I was hearing today is you want to put yourself out there and you want to make sure you stand for something, and then your target audience is going to come to you. So you got to make sure that you're standing for something, and then that you don't really want to be in the middle and serving everyone, because if you're serving everyone, you're not going to have those people that like to flock to you and they get behind your vision, your passion, your mission, whatever it is. You got to make sure that you have a goal and something that your company stands for, and that helps generate your target audience.
One of the favorite sayings that I have is that if you're trying to serve everyone, you're serving no one. I don't know if that's the exact word for word quote, but it's something that I think about or thought about more back when I was deciding which clients I wanted. But that's something to think about. If you're like you said, shooting wide, shooting broad for everybody, you might hit nobody. Where it's better to go in depth in a very niche target audience. And you can speak to those people better. We'll talk about that in the why it's beneficial, but.
So let me ask you a question. If you're starting out and you're going extremely niche and you think this is your target demographic, your psychographic, whatever it is, and it's not working, what do you do?
I think you pivot. Do you realize it's not working because of something you're doing, or is the market showing you that something else is working?
Yeah.
Because if the market's showing you that something else is working, maybe like, the soccer versus basketball example, if you start to realize, okay, basketball people like it, but the original soccer people I thought aren't, okay, just pivot over to basketball then, focus your efforts there. But if you go into soccer and you realize that demographic's not working, but you also don't have a light that's shining on a different demographic, then that's where I think you just need to try something new. You don't know what the next thing that is going to work is, so you have to try something until something points you in a direction of where you should be. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you either got to take a step back and evaluate your product. Do people actually want this? Is there a need for that product or service? And if there is that need, maybe you're targeting the wrong audience. And then you got to reevaluate there. Who actually will target it or wants this product, buys this service? You got to actually figure it out. And maybe you're just targeting the wrong audience. And maybe you have the wrong product and no one actually wants it. There's no need for it in the market. So like you said before, the market will determine it. So you got to make sure if there is a need for it, and if there is a need, maybe you're targeting the wrong people. And
it's probably more common in the beginning of businesses. A lot of people I'd say a majority of people don't know their target audience. They shift all over the place. And there's nothing wrong with that. In the video industry, I was doing weddings, I was doing corporate videos, I was doing event videos. I didn't really know what my target audience was. And now that I've been going through it, I've learned that for multiple different reasons, that corporate video is mainly the stuff that I want to do. I don't do a ton of weddings here and there, maybe. I don't do a ton of event stuff, whatever. But corporate is really the niche that I am in. So you kind of learn as you go, and that's where you really need to work through it with experience.
I wouldn't really say that you were switching up your target audience. I think you were switching up your services more so, because I don't think it's good to continually bounce from target audience to target audience if you're like continually serving people, because then those people are going to fade and then you're going to have to try and start over again. And then those people are going to fade it because you keep switching. So it's figuring out, I think you were switching your services more so instead of I was
a little
switching
bit
target audience.
But who I'm targeting my video services to, is it brides? Is it females? Or is it, 40 to 50-year-old male business owners? So, business owners, maybe it may be shifted from brides to business owners, whatever it might be. Obviously a lot of different factors, but it's probably a mix of both, switching the target audience and switching the services that I was providing each of those target audiences.
Yeah. I think so services.
I think it was more so the audience.
Okay. We'll agree to disagree.
It was both, Tyler. Come on.
Yeah, it was. Let's not lie here.
So one thing that I've started to implement on finding my target demo is internally analyzing the current top clients that I have. Tyler, have you had any experiences with that? Obviously, it's a little bit different for you with a retail company, but have you had any experiences there?
I have not had any experience with it yet, but once we do potentially get to that level, it would be good to send out a survey or just email current database and figure out some demographics, psychographics about them, just so we can target our actual target audience a little bit more, because there should be a lot of commonalities there.
Yeah, and especially pivoting on my side a little bit, even if you're not asking your clients certain questions about this, that, the other thing, you can put all of your clients in a list and look at it, analyze what do they have in common. Are 80% of your clients that are paying you the big money females? Awesome. Are a majority of them 30 to 40 years old? Awesome. Are they 60 plus? The more you analyze those things and the more often you analyze those things, you might be able to hone in that target audience a little bit faster.
Yes. And just figuring out different psychographics as well, like their interests. Maybe they all like to work out and they're spending 3 to 5 days a week at a gym. And then maybe you're able to use that in your marketing efforts where you can include that. Are you a busy mom, or maybe they're moms, and are you a busy mom that likes to work out at the gym 3 to 5 days a week and you're not finding any time in your day?
The more you figure out, the easier it's going to be to market to those people. Because like you said, if they're busy moms that like to go to the gym 3 to 5 times a day, okay, maybe you now have a piece of marketing that's at that gym. Maybe they have TV screens constantly running ads. Maybe that's better to hit them there, or maybe you service people that not many of them go to the gym at all. Okay, maybe it wouldn't make sense to go in that area. That's just one example. But the more information you can find out about your target audience, it's going to be exponentially easier to market to those people.
Yeah. What we're talking about right now is, I know it's like right at the very end. It's like I want to say it, but I'm trying not to say it just because it's at the very end.
The beneficial section?
Yeah.
We'll get there. Let's move on to where to target these people. Yes. Stay till the end to figure out Tyler's big secret. He's pregnant. So where do you target these people? Okay. Obviously it depends. Like we just said, depends on what the target audience is. But if we're talking strictly social media, there's a few different places you can target them. Tyler, you want to take that away?
I mean, yeah, there's several different areas that you can target them. You can, when you do figure out your demographics and your psychographics, this is going to potentially lead to other things. Maybe they hang out on Facebook a lot. Maybe they hang out on YouTube a lot. Maybe they hang out on Instagram a lot. And then once you're able to find these commonalities and maybe they all hang out on Facebook, then let's target a lot on Facebook. Let's post a lot of Facebook videos, Facebook pictures. Maybe we want to run some ads on Facebook. Maybe they don't spend any time on Facebook and maybe the majority of their time is on YouTube. Maybe we want to run some YouTube ads. Maybe we want to create YouTube videos. So those are a few locations that you can figure out where you want to target and where your audience hangs out. What do you have?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. If you're targeting a 65-year-old lady, it might be easier to hit her on Facebook than it is a 22-year-old. It might be easier to hit them on TikTok. So it really depends. Look at your target audience. Where is your money going to be the most powerful? I just had a meeting last week with a client, and to use this as an example, his service, the one thing he's really trying to get off the ground, targets 65 to 95-year-old women and males, but it's mainly women. So are we really ever going to run any ads on Instagram? Probably not. I don't know how many, I'm sure there's a few 65 to 95-year-old people on that platform, but not a ton. Are we going to use Twitter? We're definitely not going to use Twitter. TikTok, no. But Facebook, we could definitely use that because that's where they're going to be. One other thing that you can look at for a target audience, using this as an example, is maybe you're not hitting directly that target audience, but maybe I'm hitting 40 to 50-year-old children of that older person that is helping them through their care, if it's a health thing. So that's another thing. Those are, like sub-target audiences. I don't know if there's a proper term for that, but that's something to look at down the road. Maybe we'll have to do a whole nother podcast episode on pseudosciences of target audiences.
Yeah, I was thinking about like is it a client that you said that's targeting 65 to 95? I was who the hell is targeting 65 to 95? And then when you said their kids in nursing homes, so that kind of like, or whatever it is, hospital.
Yeah, I mean, it's more for a service. So it's like it's a chiropractor that also does natural health methods that isn't necessarily pumping people full of drugs. So that's what the specific service they're offering is to cure something that happens with 65 to 95-year-olds. So that's the what's the word I'm looking for? That's the example that I wanted to use.
Okay, I gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, there's a ton of different places to target your audience. You really just have to figure that out on your own. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Google ads. Maybe it's, TV advertising,
radio ads.
It's not social media. Maybe you're in the newspaper. There's a ton of different avenues. Yeah. You could even do like the billboards above urinals,
Yeah. Do you read those?
I was in Canada when I was playing hockey in Canada. There was one of those posters above the urinals of some chick in not very many clothes. And I can't remember what the ad was, but I remember that being there. So if the ad was a little bit better, I maybe would have remembered. But I think those...
Well, maybe the ad was really good. They just did it too well.
It was too good. Yeah. I didn't even see the business. I was just staring at the chick the whole time. So, yeah, I mean, there's different places you can advertise. Definitely. You just kind of have to figure out what works best, and you're not going to know until you try, try something. If it doesn't work, try something else. A lot of it's trial and error.
Maybe it was strippers.
I think it could have been, or a limo service, a ride service.
Oh yeah.
To get to the stripper club.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't need strip club.
Tomato.
I haven't even. Yeah.
I've been to one in my life.
I've been to 0.
Yeah, I was in downtown Minneapolis. Wasn't great, but it was funny. I had free hot dogs, chili dogs, actually. Yeah, it's pretty good. They were complimentary, so that was pretty cool. Since we're on the topic, trial and error, once you release your product. So it's funny transition there, right? We were not on the topic at all.
That was amazing.
One example one example we wanted to use for this is Champion. So Champion in the beginning started as, it's a nice brand, is awesome in the 80s and the 90s. I'm just guessing there. I'm not sure if it was 80s and 90s, but Champion was a brand. It was popular and people wore it all the time. Then as it went on, as the company progressed, it turned into more of a cheaper product, more affordable. I think it was in Walmart for a little bit. And now we're seeing that it is back on the trending upwards scale, and it's super popular. It's trendy. People are wearing Champion again. They're getting Champion. So it's funny how your target audience changes as your business evolves.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the market will tell you what your product is or whatever. And I just looked up how long Champion's been around since 1919. So they've been around a few years.
Damn.
But so that's probably a lot of ebbs and flows in the market. And I think that just goes to I feel like there's trends, and that's what happened with Champion. It just became a trend. Everyone started wearing it and they're like, oh, that's cool now. And then everyone just started wearing it. It was weird. So I feel like if you're in,
I still think it sucks.
didn't either. I wouldn't say it sucks. It's just I don't get the hype.
It's chuggy. Have you ever heard the word chuggy?
Never heard of it.
Yeah, apparently it's what all the kids are saying now, but apparently it means it's cringy and
kids.
Yeah. I stay in touch with the kids,
Yeah, I keep a good close eye on them.
Try to, if I can. Sometimes I miss the weekly vernacular and slang meeting, but they usually record it and send it out after. All the old
I always
folks.
miss that. I always see new words pop up. I'm like, what the hell does this one mean now?
Yeah, this shit is bussin'. No cap.
Those are a few I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one example we want to use, the ebbs and flows of the market. Another way that your target audience might shift in with the ebbs and flows of the market is if you or a brand partners with an influencer. This could definitely change your demographic. Tyler, you want to touch on the example we have on there?
Yeah, I don't know much about this one, but from what I heard from Easton in our meetup call is K-Swiss partnered with Gary Vee. And when that happened, they just blew up. And I think that just goes into partnering with influencers. And that's becoming a huge thing where if you are going to do this, you want to figure out influencers that are going to have an audience, and not only an audience that's going to want your product or service. You can go to Kim Kardashian. I mean, she might be able to sell anything, but if you go to her with, say, I'm trying to think of a bad product off the top of my head.
Toilet paper brand.
I feel like she could. I feel like she could sell it. Her fat ass, and it'd be like,
that's
man,
true. It's like, use this toilet paper. It gets all the ass. Let's create that ad, Kim. Give me a call.
I don't know. That was a bad example, but if you go to, say, someone that works out and they have primarily a workout following audience, maybe if you go to them and say, here, sell this candle, it's not really going to have that connection where it's probably not going to do as well. So that was a bad example with Kim.
Yeah, but I like the gym to the candle one. That's a little bit better. We're working through it. One thing I want to touch on with that is if you're a brand and you're looking to find that target audience, or maybe there's a specific audience that you want to work with, maybe I sell a rug company. I make rugs and they're really cool rugs, and you want to get into a certain demo, find influencers that have that have the audience that you're looking for people to buy. That was a lot of words. Does that make sense? So if there's an influencer that does home reno, there's one lady I follow on TikTok. Her name's like Gally Alex or something like that. And she does home renos and she does design. So maybe I really like her style, her vibe, what she's telling her audience. And I partner with her and I say, hey, be a partner. You're the influencer. We'll make the rugs. And then that's the target audience. So you've pretty much collected that through the influencer. Or if you're a rug company and you want to somehow be in gyms because your rugs are like rubber or cool or something, then you partner with a gym influencer and sell it that way. So really pick the audience that the influencer has that you want to market to.
I came up with a product that I don't think Kim could sell.
What's that?
You want to hear it?
Butt reduction?
No, gaming PCs.
Yeah. I don't know if she could. Huh.
I feel like it would be tough. She has such a wide audience that I'm sure she might be able to, but I feel like that's out there. That's out there enough.
You lose some street cred, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Then it's just like she's just doing it for the money now.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd say.
I think that's another thing you want to also think about too, is when you are going to an influencer, making sure that it does make sense for them, because if they start marketing every single product that just comes to them, and maybe they're known as like a sellout, and anyone that just comes to them say, hey, market our product, and they just do it, they don't care.
Yeah.
Then they lose a lot of credibility with their audience. So you want to make sure that it does make sense with your product to them and their audience.
And if you're an influencer, make sure that you're picking products and brands that you want to work with that fit your morals and what your audience expects to see from you. If I started selling bath bombs, people would be really, really confused. And then I would have to tell them that I really like baths, which I do. So it wouldn't be that horrible, actually. I wish we had a bath bomb sponsor on here. That brings us to our first sponsor, bathbombs.com.
Yeah, I think that another thing about that is Tim Ferriss. What Tim Ferriss likes to do is he has a podcast, and I always skip past it. I'm sorry, Tim, if you're never going to listen to this, but I always skip past your first 5 minutes of your show. I know it's like first 5 minutes to 5 minutes and 30 seconds is him plugging his advertisements. But the thing with his advertisements, he either uses the products already or he has already tested them, and he has like a testing phase that he does with them to make sure he actually gets behind what he's promoting. So he actually believes in the product, because I know on one episode he was talking about a Peloton, and he's like, okay, you got to let me try it for a couple weeks before I can actually put it on my podcast, because I want to make sure that what I'm putting out to my audience, I actually believe in, I'll actually use, and it actually makes sense for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's something where you see a lot of YouTubers talk about this, where they say, I get these sponsorship deals all the time and people want to sponsor, but it's not something I believe in. It's a product I would never use, so I don't put it on my channel. So really, it's just staying true to yourself and true to who you are.
Yep.
Let's talk about some benefits of honing in your target audience. The first one that we really want to touch on is who you're speaking to. And we talked about this in the beginning. It's so much easier to tailor a piece of content, whether it's a photo, whether it's a graphic design piece, a brochure, a video, whatever it is. It's so much easier to tailor it to a person that you know everything about. You know exactly who you're speaking to. I can talk to a 16-year-old female that likes running shoes and she likes playing tennis on Saturdays. That's so much easier to create a video for than not having any idea who's watching it is. Yeah. Any Given Saturday.
Not Sunday.
She likes the documentary Any Given Saturday.
Yeah. I think I really agree with that, where just narrowing that demographic and the psychographic down, once you're able to do that, your targeting becomes hyper specific and you're able to speak to them directly, and you're able to connect with them, hit on all those pain points, hit on them on emotional level, and they'll be like, wow, this person is speaking directly to me. They know me, and I'm going to buy.
Yeah.
Simple.
The one example I saw of this with the next point on our list is making your marketing more niche, is that someone gave a marketing example is to create 15 different pieces of content, and every single part of the video is the exact same except the very beginning when they say, hey, people of Ohio. So it's 15 different states. So they say, hey, people of Ohio. Hey, people of North Dakota. Hey, people of New York. Hey, people of Florida. So then they run these ads, instead of it being generic and running all over, they run that specific ad in that state, because then you're talking directly to that person. So that's one example. It doesn't go super in depth on the target demo, but one example, I might say, hey, Minnesota Vikings fans, how about Justin Jefferson having 175 catches? Anyways, buy my candle, whatever that might be. So that's just an example of the more niche you make it, the more specific you can be in your language.
Yeah. I kind of jumped ahead and covered all the other points, but when you're able to do all that, you're able to hit on all the pain points they have. Maybe, like we said earlier, maybe they're a mom, they work out and they are really stressed and they don't have a lot of time to do all that stuff. And then you're able to hit on those pain points that they don't have a lot of time because they're doing a lot of stuff. So once you're able to hit on those pain points, you're able to sell to them a lot better.
Yeah, and it's almost not even selling. It's just providing them a solution. A lot of times, if you, like you said, if they're moms that are going to the gym because they're in pain, it's easier to sell your pain-solving solution to them if you know that's what they're struggling with. If you're not really sure what their issues are, then how can you provide value to them? Because you don't even know what they want. So the more you can figure out their pain points, the more you can be valuable in solving those pain points by providing them a solution through your product or service. How about that?
Or offer.
Yeah, or offer.
I like it.
Grand slam offer, to be exact.
There you go. Make it so good that they can't say no.
Exactly. Other than that, those are kind of the benefits. That's really all we have on honing in your target audience. Tyler, is there anything else you really want to touch on that we missed?
I mean, off the top of my head, no. But we probably did miss some. I think
we covered it pretty well, though. Hopefully people can have a pretty good idea of, why this is important and to get a good step into it.
Definitely do think that we did cover it well, but I mean, don't want, people being like, oh, you missed this point. Oh, you missed that point. We're not perfect. We may have missed something.
I want people to say that. I think
we covered it. Yeah.
So
yeah, I do too.
Perfect.
Come at us.
We'll address that in the next episode. Steve Smith, whatever
we
your
do
name
appreciate any feedback if you have any. You can let us at
theminuteentrepreneur.gmail.com. With that being said, I'm boycotting the business idea segment and pushing it over to Tyler because I didn't think of anything this week and Tyler's mad at me, so he's got to do it again.
Very mad.
Call a spade a spade.
You got like 2 weeks to come up with an idea. It doesn't take that long to come up with it. Doesn't even have to be a great idea like my idea today. And my idea today is coming up with a story. And not just any story. It's going to be a whole podcast based around storytelling. And no one's going to know that it's actually stories. Everyone's going to make it think. So it's basically going to be acting, but on podcasts. And it's just going to be whoever can tell the best story. And then it becomes the most compelling because you always hear these people on podcasts, they tell stories, they say their life was crazy and they go back in time and they say, oh, my childhood was terrible. No one's really going to know. And maybe it's like a podcast specifically around, say, business, but it's actually not a podcast around business. It's just a podcast around storytelling, but no one actually knows that. So what happens is you have these people come onto the show, they create this compelling story. And the better you are at storytelling, the more compelling the story is and the more engaging people.
I'm so lost right now. So they come on the show, they create their own story.
It's like a fake podcast. Yeah.
And what are the stories about? So it has to be in a specific niche?
Yeah, sure. You could do, say, business, like I said. Maybe it's you come up with a story, an elaborate story on how you got started. Your dad resented you because he wanted you to go into the medical field.
It's book writing in verbal form.
But no one knows that it's actually storytelling. They think it's real because you never really say that it's storytelling. Maybe after like 10, 20 seasons, you'd be like, haha, we got you. Those were all fake stories. Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, because I imagine someone listening to the show and they listen to 20 years of the show, and they're taking all these fantastic pieces of advice and implementing them into their own business, their own life. And at the very end, the guy's like, hey, we're retiring from the podcast. Everything I told you, everyone you heard from, it's fake.
That would be hilarious.
What a brain.
It would be funny. Yeah.
My brain would explode.
It'd be funny if it'd be funny if people actually like took that information and applied it to their business, and it actually made their business better. Like, I feel like people could do that.
Yourself, man. This is fake shit.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like people could take, I mean, a lot of people get information from YouTube, books, whatever it is. So people do have information and knowledge that they could share. And you could just take one little sentence from a whole podcast and be like, that's really good. I'm going to implement it into my business. Yeah. So I think it's just, I don't know. I don't think it's a great idea, but I think it's a possibility of an idea of just creating a podcast around storytelling, but no one actually knows that it's a story. They get led into it.
No, I like it. I'm writing this down because I have a business idea for next week. So you just talk a little bit more about your idea.
See how easy that was?
But usually I don't have.
You just gotta have your mind open.
My mind's only open.
Man, you got your phone on you.
Okay? Shut up. Okay.
Hey, Siri.
I never bring my phone anyway. Siri's broken. Okay. Yeah, I have all these excuses. You can't come
Siri
at me.
just turned on.
I have objections. I'm just ready for anything you say. I lost it now. Shit. I'm
just gonna filibuster while we're waiting for Easton to type.
There you go.
Yeah, so I don't know how I had this idea. I don't know how I had this idea. I was listening to a podcast, and I think it was just someone telling like an elaborate story of them growing up, and I'm like, damn. I'm like, and then at the same time, I think I had a thought. I think that's what I had the idea of. Like, what if that's fake? What if it was just a podcast of people coming up with fake stories? So,
yeah, and it's almost like a curated list of books. It's almost like curated audiobooks.
It comes out into a huge novel.
Yeah, and then
maybe it gets produced into movies.
At the very end, you say, "Hey, here's the order of the stories," and it's like episode 47, and then it's episode 8, and then it's episode 3, and then it goes to 52, and you listen to it in that order, and shit's magical. That would take so much planning.
That'd be huge.
Oof. All right, well, I like the idea. I got one for next week, so don't bitch at me this week.
I can't now.
I don't want to hear it. I'm going to start thinking of one for 2 weeks. I'm going to try to get a list of 5. I like all of yours, okay? I've never hated on your ideas. I know you said that.
There's been a few.
It's BS.
There's been a few.
I question
There's been a few. I do too.
Never stop asking why.
Exactly.
All right.
That's why 5 times.
Exactly.
Toyota.
Do you have a quote for the episode? I know we implemented that.
Oh, crap. I don't have my keyboard on me.
I'll go send you guys off for the rest of the week. I got one.
Oh, man.
Unless if you want to pull one up, you can.
I can manage to pull one up in the time that you say the outro.
Okay. Do you want me to say it slow?
No, I'm good. I just, are we done right now, or do you want to say the outro, or what's good?
Unless you have anything else to touch on, I don't.
I think that's everything.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna do the outro. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, I'm ready.
That's episode 22 of The Midnight Entrepreneur. If you have any questions you'd like us to cover or answer, you can email us at themidnightentrepreneur@gmail.com. If you found value in this content or found this entertaining, share this with a friend or post it on your story. If you really enjoyed the show, we'd love a rating and a review on wherever you're listening. Talk to you guys next week for another episode of The Midnight Entrepreneur.
If you look at what you have in life, you'll always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough. Oprah Winfrey.